This is a car that many purists insist shouldn't exist, but honestly, I'm really rather glad that it does. This is the 2025 Mazda MX-5 RF hardtop. It is a bit of a curiosity for the MX-5 lineage, but you know what? It wears its shape really rather well. The MX-5 RF joined the scene just a few years ago, and for 2024, it got some welcome additions. The little stuff like an updated infotainment screen, well, that's all well and good. That's just everyday usability. But we got something even more exciting, and I want to start off with that because we really already know the bulk of what makes a Miata a Miata. New now is a fun new traction mode, a track DSC mode. You could always turn the traction control off, or as off as they would let you. But this new mode changes that up a little bit by making it respond to counter steer. That means that if you induce oversteer, if you get that tail sliding back and forth, when it detects you steering the wrong way or opposite what the yaw sensor gives you, it'll actually kick in and straighten things out. Now, that is fun, except for when it's not, obviously, because why would you want to introduce the fun police when you could have full-footed bird? Running just 2,300 millimeters between the axles, this is a bit of a snappy, even twitchy little platform. And though it only puts out 181 horsepower, 151 pound-feet of torque, that's still enough to let it get a little bit skippy-skirty on you. Commuting out and about in town, that makes it a whole lot of fun though, because this is a car that you can row through the gears constantly, and what's more, it's a car that you can very controllably and without attracting too much attention to yourself, have a whole lot of fun in. Is it as fun with these big buttresses back here though? Well, that is an interesting question. You see, the MX-5 RF is a really neat car. It's a very cool concept, and especially for those who are looking for a daily driver that they can enjoy absolutely year-round, this makes what is already a hypothetically usable car even more approachable. Getting snow off of a hardtop is a lot friendlier than pulling it off of a soft. But then you do compromise a little bit of what makes a Miata, because with that comes weight and complexity. Now, it's not a crazy amount of weight. It's only about 34 kilograms, which, I mean, at almost 70, 80 pounds is still a fair bit. But it's actually pretty manageable. And on the cargo side, you do lose a couple liters space, but you've still got about 130 back there. That's enough for 3 large MEC hiking packs of about 40 liters each. And that'll still get you on a pretty solid road trip. Now, some particularly keen Miata owners have actually gone so far as to raise the roof, then open it back up a little bit so they can stuff things in where the roof usually resides, forcing them into top-up driving with some risk of messing things up if they forget and try to put it down, but hypothetically increasing their capacity. Really though, that's not what you're gonna be doing, because you don't buy a Miata to put a pile of stuff in. You buy this knowing that these 2 cup holders back here kind of suck, that you're putting your sunglasses in this tiny cubby that doesn't really do much. And on top of that, you've got what is a pretty cramped cabin area as well. I have managed to put a passenger of up to 6'1" in here. It is doable. This isn't quite as cramped as the NA&B, but it's still not a big car, and especially with the top up. It isn't claustrophobic though. No, it's instead simply rather focused. This car feels purposeful, and it's interesting that something can feel this purposeful without feeling undertaxed or boring in everyday commuting like I've been using it for a lot of this week. See, this week has mostly been spent with views like this. I've not actually been able to get this out into the country because, unfortunately, being an editor means a lot of work to do. With that said, I've had quite a time with it. Doodled around town, you do actually get to use quite a bit of this thing. Gears 1 through 4 with a full foot will actually see you up to 60 kilometers an hour without feeling like you're going super short on your shifts. What's more, the standard limited slip differential that we get here in Canada is a buttload of fun, and new last year, it's been updated. You see, it's no longer just a regular run-of-the-mill LSD, it is now what they call an asymmetric LSD. Using conical clutching, cam actuators make things respond a little bit differently whether you're on the gas or on the brakes. This is really important. You see, normally LSDs are just trying to keep one wheel from slipping under power. But you also want consistent response when you're letting off, when you're relying on engine braking to help with your deceleration. That's where that comes in, because it helps keep the car more square and more squat and more planted. That's really neat, and it combines with some other new suspension fun as well. In this here GT model, we've got upgraded Bilstein damping, and that's all cool. But they've also introduced some brake controls to try to drag the inside wheel out back to make sure that it tugs back down and keeps square, even, reliable, predictable traction. On top of that, we also get to enjoy an updated steering rack, which I actually really rather like. And that's not something that I can say often of electric power steering. You see, these racks tend to feel a little bit artificial, a little bit video game, a little bit disconnected. But here in the MX-5, this new setup just feels kind of natural. It's not hydraulic in sensation, make no mistake there. But as these go, it's a pretty solid way to have it. But then this kind of brings us back to what makes the MX-5 RF a little bit contentious to purists, because these things have always been really simple soft tops, and this decidedly is not. This is a more complex car, and it's not just that it's heavier, it's that there's more going on. It isn't quite so simple, so pure of intent as that original was, or even just the standard ND. So then, given all of this, does the controversial MX-5 RF earn its keep? Well, you see, the thing is that a lot of what makes this thing so fun, this fabulous manual, this accessible, linear, practical, intuitive power, and then, of course, that clever diff, the traction modes, all of that, well, you can get that in a regular Miata from some $37K. But here you're looking at a starting price of $43. Through all of that, though, it does feel something of a perversion of what the Miata formula is supposed to be. It's more complicated, it's heavier, and it's more expensive. This isn't a $37,000 base soft-top Miata with unobstructed rear visibility and just that general all-around charm. No, this is a premium car, one that tries to cut down on the wind noise when you're on the highway, which tries to be more practical and livable in a lot of really helpful and genuinely welcome ways. But between things like steering, auto-leveling headlamps, and so much more, this thing just gets a little bit bloaty, a little bit complicated. I want cheap and cheerful. If you are looking at a 25 Miata, you're on the right track because they're delightful cars. But this is not the flavor you want. No, I would go soft top GSP. That's the second trim up, which gets you the sport shocks, which comes with that standard LSD, which gets you strut tower bracing and all the rest. And then on top of that, you've got just the general updated usability. This is a car that now has adaptive cruise control. It's a delight. I don't believe that Miata is always the answer, but it is definitely a very friendly, very welcoming, very engaging answer. Lighter, tighter, shorter, and just all around giddier than a GR86, this thing is a bucket of fun no matter where you put it. And while that GR86 is definitely more car for comparable money, I gotta say, between the two, were I to borrow one for a weekend, this is the way I would go. For Driving.ca, I'm Al Alder. For more sports car news, reviews, previews, tests, and all the rest, be sure to follow us online on Driving.ca.